We begin with an astonishing claim. A 10-year-old girl who can lift the weight of a small car. Is that even possible? Some say it defies logic. Others point to a family legacy of strength, a relentless daily routine, and a passion that started in early childhood. This is not fiction. It's the real story of a young athlete who turned heads, broke records, and sparked controversy along the way. Ready for the details? A family's unbelievable legacy. Her name is Varia Akulova, born into a family of performers in Ukraine. Both parents worked in the circus, displaying feats of acrobatics and balance. From an early age, Varia watched them earn applause under bright spotlights. But even her parents didn't expect the kind of strength she would develop. Relatives recall tiny Varia balancing on her father's arms, showing an unusual knack for staying poised. By the time she could walk, she was already testing her own limits, climbing everything in sight. Nobody guessed that someday she might surpass the entire family. That legacy, rooted in circus arts, gave her a head start. But it was only the beginning. The real journey started once they saw her raw power. Spotting her gift. Her father, Yuri, noticed something odd when Varia was around 4 years old. She could lift items that other kids couldn't budge. Simple tasks like picking up a heavy stool or dragging a bulky box came to her with surprising ease. That's when curiosity kicked in. Yuri tested her with small weights, and she barely strained. He tried heavier ones, and still, she kept up. It defied normal growth patterns, where children of that age struggle with objects even half their size. Instead of overwhelming her, the weight seemed to excite her. This wasn't just a strong kid. This was a child whose body mechanics behaved like a seasoned athlete. The family realized they were witnessing something remarkable. A circus childhood. Growing up backstage in a traveling show, Varia saw stunts that most kids only dream about. Acrobats soared across trapezes. Clowns performed daring leaps. Her parents specialized in strength-based acts, featuring lifts and human pyramids. She watched in awe, but also learned by observation. She imitated the posture of seasoned performers, practicing their forms in secret. Sometimes, she would mimic her father's training, attempting push-ups or squats. The circus life gave her constant movement, flexible schedules, and an environment that encouraged unique talents. No one considered it a typical upbringing, but for Varia, it was normal. And in this colorful, unpredictable world, a spark ignited. Her dream was to join the ring, not as a clown or acrobat, but as a strong woman. Officially, the strongest girl. By the time Varia was 8, local newspapers began calling her the world's strongest girl. On stage, she could hoist her father onto her shoulders, a feat that stunned audiences. Word spread quickly, and she landed in regional competitions that matched her against older teenagers. Even then, she held her own. Journalists traveled long distances just to see if the tales were true. Soon enough, Guinness World Records took notice, verifying her lifts. It wasn't a one-time demonstration. She consistently pushed the limits of what a child's body should handle. Videos of her balancing large weights circulated, leaving viewers speechless. The title, World's Strongest Girl, stuck, and even global media outlets began to echo those words with admiration and doubt. The car lifting claim. The rumor that she could lift a small car came from a circus demonstration. Spectators reported seeing Varia support a considerable portion of the vehicle's weight during a carefully arranged stunt. This was no ordinary bench press or squat in a gym. Her father and stage crew set up a lever system that allowed her to raise part of the car off the ground. Critics wondered, was it real or just a trick? Yet those who witnessed it swore they felt the car tilt upward. The exact weight still debated. But for Varia, it felt like another personal test. Whether the entire car or a significant fraction, she proved she could handle a mass that dwarfed her body. The story took on a life of its own. The father's training method. Yuri served as both father and coach. He believed in starting simple. Bodyweight exercises, proper form, gradual progression. He never forced her to lift more than she could handle. Instead, he gauged her comfort level daily, inching the difficulty upward. She practiced squats, deadlifts, and overhead presses, each time focusing on controlled movements. Days began with warm-ups like jumping jacks, short jogs, and stretches. Then they moved to heavier training, using weights welded from metal scraps or any equipment available in traveling tents. For Varia, it wasn't just about raw power, it was about technique and consistency. Her father insisted on rest days to let her muscles recover, even if she wanted to push harder. This balanced method set the stage for her incredible strength. Diet for a young, strong woman. The family's diet was simple but substantial. They relied on fresh vegetables, grains, and proteins like eggs, meat, and fish when available. Circus life could be hectic, making consistent meals a challenge, but they prioritized nutrition. Varia especially loved foods high in protein, cottage cheese, boiled chicken, or lentils. She found that a hearty breakfast fueled her best lifts. Candy and junk food were rare treats, since her father believed discipline began at the dinner table. She also drank plenty of water, even though younger kids often prefer sugary drinks. Over time, she learned to manage her own hunger, ensuring she ate enough to support her muscle growth. It wasn't a scientific regimen, but it got results far beyond anyone's expectations. Surpassing expectations. Doctors and sports psychologists scratched their heads. Children her age often struggle with half the weight she easily managed. Some experts suspected a genetic edge. Perhaps her family's circus background primed her for strength. Others pointed to an unusually high muscle-to-fat ratio. Varia, for her part, only knew she felt alive under the strain of a heavy lift. She reported no unusual pain or discomfort, just a drive to push further. Even as her father kept cautious watch, she exploded through personal bests. Outside observers occasionally worried about possible health risks, yet every medical check showed healthy bone density and no significant strain on her spine. It was as if nature had crafted her body specifically for feats of might. Press and public reactions. Word of a 10-year-old who can lift a car spread like wildfire. Tabloids ran headlines, sometimes exaggerating or twisting the story. Serious newspapers highlighted her training regimen, noting her remarkable resilience. Television stations invited her for interviews, where she'd demonstrate lifts in front of stunned hosts. Some praised her father for nurturing her gift. Others condemned him, believing she was too young for intense physical stress. Crowds flocked to see her at local exhibitions. She remained a polite, soft-spoken child amid the swirl of cameras and curious onlookers. Often she would laugh shyly when reporters asked if she felt like a superhero. Her response was always modest, reflecting a girl who found joy in lifting, not in showing off. Life outside the circus ring. Away from the spotlight, Varia did typical kid things. She loved running around the circus grounds, playing simple games, or chatting with other children in the troupe. She had chores like cleaning up costumes, helping pack equipment, or feeding the small animals kept for performances. Unlike most kids, though, she would lift a 25-kilogram weight every now and then just to keep busy. The older circus folk treated her with a blend of admiration and protectiveness. They knew she was special, but also a child in need of fun and friendship. Whenever they settled in one place for a few weeks, she'd try to attend a local school, bridging the gap between her circus life and a more conventional world. Testing her limits. In smaller competitions, Varia consistently broke records for her age group in bench press, squat, and deadlift. Coaches from established sports clubs began to show interest, inviting her for official training. But traveling with the circus meant she couldn't commit to a single location. Still, she found ways to participate in local meets wherever her family performed. She even ventured into gymnastics for a while, using her strength to execute flips and holds. Yet her heart lay in powerlifting. Some nights, she and her father would discuss how far she could push herself. Could she double her body weight in a deadlift? Could she lift half a ton someday? Each question spurred her to try, always guided by a supportive father's watchful eye. Sibling rivalries and friendships. She didn't have siblings, but she made friends with other children of circus performers. Some admired her, others teased her, calling her Muscle Girl. A few even tested her strength, challenging her to arm wrestling matches. Usually, she'd hold back until they insisted on full force. Then, she'd pin them easily. This led to mixed reactions: astonishment, annoyance, and sometimes envy. Through it all, Varia remained kind, never letting her abilities feed any arrogance. She was happiest when she could teach others basic exercises. Some kids, inspired by her feats, began mini workouts of their own. It became a small movement inside the circus community, with children eagerly trying push-ups or squats under Varia's playful instruction. Mother's role behind the scenes. While her father guided her training, her mother provided balance. She reminded Varia to stay humble, to do household chores, and to keep up with her reading lessons. During performances, her mother was a quick-to-laugh acrobat with nimble feet. But backstage, she was the voice of caution. She insisted on extra safety checks before Varia lifted anything unusual, from barbells to random props. She also made sure her daughter's diet included enough fruit and vitamins to support muscle growth. If Varia ever complained of muscle aches, it was her mother who applied soothing balms or insisted she rest. This teamwork allowed the young lifter to thrive without neglecting the gentler parts of childhood. Medical experts step in. Inevitably, sports doctors began examining Varia's unusual abilities. They measured her bone density, muscle mass, and overall health. They found that her skeletal system was adapting exceptionally well to the load. Stress fractures, a common concern in child athletes, were absent. Her muscles showed an advanced level of endurance, and her posture was surprisingly stable. Psychological evaluations also noted a calm focus during lifts, hinting at a blend of mental discipline and confidence. No one found a simple explanation, no single gene that turned her into a powerhouse overnight. It seemed to be a perfect storm: supportive family, balanced training, good nutrition, and a personal passion for lifting. The medical world kept tabs on her progress, half worried, half thrilled. Guinness recognition. At 10, Varia's reputation peaked when she officially entered the Guinness World Records. The exact category involved lifting combined weights far exceeding what anyone her age had done. She showcased multiple lifts, from deadlifts to overhead presses, confirming her range of strength. Guinness representatives observed carefully, measuring each attempt for authenticity. When they announced her success, she became an instant global sensation. Articles hailed her as proof that children could achieve staggering feats with proper guidance. Critics, however, maintained their stance. Pushing a child to such extremes could cause long-term damage. Varya just smiled, continuing her routine without letting the fuss go to her head. For her, the recognition wasn't the end goal. She simply loved being strong. School and social life. Whenever circus travel slowed, Varya attended local schools to keep up academically. She was polite in class, though teachers noticed she sometimes stood out physically, even if she tried to hide it. Classmates occasionally approached her with curiosity. "Did you really lift a car?" She'd shrug, explaining that she only lifted part of its weight with a special setup. Outside at recess, she joined in ball games, but had to be careful not to bump into anyone too hard. Over time, some kids teased her for being freakishly strong, but she handled it gracefully, often winning them over with kindness. Teachers appreciated her humility. Despite the spotlight she lived under, she rarely bragged about her accomplishments. A typical day in her life. Morning started early with a quick warm-up. She'd do a few stretches, maybe a jog around the circus grounds. Breakfast was often oatmeal and fruit, fueling her for a round of weight training. Then, depending on the circus schedule, she'd either help prepare equipment for the day's performance or attend local school sessions. Lunch might involve lean protein and vegetables, after which she practiced specific lifts under her father's supervision. Late afternoon saw more circus-related duties, such as rehearsals or assisting with set changes. Evenings featured performances, where she might demonstrate her strength in front of stunned crowds. Before bed, she'd do a simple cool-down routine, read a few pages of a favorite book, and drift off, mind already on tomorrow's goals. Proving it on stage. During certain circus nights, the lights dimmed and a hush fell over the audience. Then Varya strode into the ring, often wearing a simple costume. No fancy frills needed. A set of weights lay in a circle of light, gleaming. The MC announced her age, just 10 years old, and invited watchers to witness a record-breaking attempt. Gasps sounded when she hoisted the bar, sometimes equaling or exceeding her own body weight. Applause thundered. On special occasions, they brought in a small car, lifting part of it with a rig that let the crowd see her strength in action. The synergy of drama, suspense, and sheer power created an unforgettable spectacle. People left the show convinced they'd witnessed something truly extraordinary. Behind the scenes of a record. In televised demonstrations, everything looked smooth. Yet behind the camera, each attempt required extensive planning. Her father checked the equipment, measured the weights, and rehearsed safety protocols. Her mother stood by with water and towels. Varya warmed up meticulously, stretching her wrists, knees, and back, ensuring her body was primed. Stagehands, aware of her routine, stayed alert in case anything went awry. The tension was palpable, but Varya's calm focus set the tone. When the cameras rolled, she inhaled, visualized the lift, and exhaled as she raised the weight. That moment, capturing millions of viewers, was the result of hours of preparation. Each record represented not just personal strength, but the entire family's teamwork. Bumps and setbacks. Even with extraordinary talent, she wasn't immune to injuries. Once, while rehearsing a new routine, she twisted her ankle. Another time, she overextended her shoulder, attempting a heavier overhead press. Each setback forced rest and therapy, frustrating her eagerness to keep pushing limits. She learned an athlete's reality. Progress isn't always a straight line. Sometimes, the best move is pausing to heal. Her father, having faced injuries in his own circus career, guided her through slow recoveries, emphasizing patience. Doctors use these instances to remind everyone that child athletes need extra caution. Despite the occasional frustration, she followed medical advice, eventually returning to the ring stronger, wiser, and more aware of her body's limits. The science of her strength. Experts propose that Varia possessed a rare combination of high muscle density, exceptional tendon strength, and possibly an advantageous ratio of fast-twitch muscle fibers. She might also have had perfect biomechanics for lifting, minimizing strain and maximizing force. Observers noted her remarkable endurance during lifts. She rarely trembled under heavy weight, a sign of controlled muscular engagement. Training from an early age likely enhanced neural pathways related to strength. In simpler terms, her brain and muscles communicated faster and more effectively than average. While some suspected genes played a role, doctors couldn't pinpoint a single superhuman factor. The best explanation remained a harmonious blend of nature, nurture, and a supportive environment that allowed her to flourish. Dreams beyond the circus. As Varia looked ahead, she contemplated mainstream sports like weightlifting, powerlifting, or even Olympic competition. She loved the crowds of the circus, but official sporting events promised recognition of a different kind. Her father supported her ambitions, though he reminded her that circus heritage ran deep in the family. She imagined standing on a podium, national anthem playing, a medal around her neck. Would her father remain her coach, or would she join a professional training facility? She didn't have all the answers, but she cherished the possibility. Even at 10, she knew that her story had the potential to inspire others, especially girls who wanted to break barriers in athletics. Facing the future. Childhood is fleeting, and Varia's strength journey had only begun. Could she keep improving as she matured? Some predicted she might break more records in her teenage years, given her strong foundation. Others cautioned that early peaks sometimes lead to burnout. She wasn't worried. Every day still brought her fresh excitement, new weights to conquer, fresh routines to master. The public remained fascinated, eagerly anticipating her next big feat. Would she truly hoist an entire car without mechanical assistance someday? Nobody knew. But if one thing was clear, it was that a young, determined heart, bolstered by family support and medical vigilance, could push human capability into realms few believed possible. The legend lives on. In time, her story became more than just a viral headline. It turned into a symbol of how extraordinary talents can emerge from unexpected places. People who saw her perform spoke of feeling motivated to improve themselves, whether in fitness or other pursuits. Her father's approach, patient, step-by-step training, caught on among youth coaches who realized that safety and discipline matter more than quick results. For Varia, the biggest triumph wasn't any single record or newspaper article. It was the bond she shared with her parents and the sense of wonder she felt whenever she lifted something heavier than she ever had before. That sense of achievement, shaped by love and determination, remained her greatest source of strength. Thanks for watching.